Welcome to another Blender Geometry Nodes tutorial. In this video I will show you how to create this emerging or dissolving effect. Without further ado, let's get started. I will demonstrate the whole thing on this nice ship which you can get on Polyhaven. At first I need just a block out of geometry as a controller, because we will work with proximity to geometry. Now we need to add the geometry nodes modifier on every object of the ship. To do that, select one object and add the modifier to it. Then select the other objects, go to the modifiers and select copy to selected. Now every ship object has the same geometry nodes modifier on it. Alright, now we can start with the actual node tree. At first we need a scale elements node because we want to scale everything up and down. You can now slide the scale up and down to see what this will do when it's applied on everything at once. But of course, we will control this differently. Just drag the controller object into the geometry nodes window from the list. Then you got it in there and change it to relative. Then you need another node after that, which is the geometry proximity. Connect that to the scale slider. Now the ship is gone and nothing happens, even when I move the controller. That's because my controller has no faces, so I have to change the geometry type to points in my node. Now you can see that the distance between the geometry of the block and the ship's parts is equal to the scale of the individual elements. Which is nice, but we have to change the mapping that it works fine. For that, add a map range node. Then you have to change the mapping, depending on the size of your individual scene. In my case, the minimum distance is 5 and the maximum distance is 20. And the last two values are the output, so the maximum value should be 1 and the minimum value should be 0. But in the inverted order. That's why I put the min to 1 and the max to 0. Because I want the objects to be at normal scale when the black box is on them and not away from them. And now you can see that the base function is already working fine. You can move the controller around and elements which are close enough start to emerge. Now I just add a random value to randomize the growing speed a bit between the elements. But now after the math node, some of the elements are very large. I did that because I will ramp them again with another node. I do this because I want to add some kind of animation when the objects pop up. To do that, I just add a float curve in between. Currently the growing is linear, but when I now make the curve at first high and then low and then high again, the elements make a little animation when they appear. Like they are overbloated and shrinking then after they reach the peak. You have to play around a little bit to find a curve which you like. You could be finished here, but I want to add another motion, which is a motion upwards while they appear. I need another scale elements for that at the end. Then I can just copy the map range node and add another float curve node after it. Connect that to the second scale elements node. Now I basically have 2 times the same effect. But now I will add a random value vector node to the center of a scale elements node. Then I make a little randomized value on the negative z-axis. This will make the elements move a bit upwards when they spawn. Optionally, you can add a split edges node to the geometry input to apply this effect on every single face, which looks very chaotic. But I prefer it without the splitting edges. And now we are really finished. You can now make villages, forests or battleships appear with a cool effect. If you found this video helpful, feel free to subscribe to my channel to see more tutorials like this. Thank you for watching and see you soon.